many hundreds or thousands of traditional products out there who are saying, we want to be an AI product. Can you just figure out how to put some AI in our product? But the truth is that those are solutions searching for a need, and I think it's a bit backwards. I think the best products always start with a need. You have to avoid this trap of saying, hey, can you just incorporate AI into our product somehow? Put some chat interface in here. Most of that stuff doesn't offer much value. Winning is not necessarily just all about brute force. It's about being strategic in your decision making and making good decisions early that pay dividends over the long term. What does CRM look like in 10 years from now? And ignore everything that you've ever learned or thought about CRM and invent something completely new. To me, that's really exciting. That's like creating the tomorrow version of this world.
Hans, thanks for joining us. Let's start from short 5-minute questions where you can provide quick answers. So let's start from the simple one. How would you explain to your mom, what do you do for a living?
That's a great question. I try to make parallels with the products that people like my parents know. They, of course, use the internet, they use email. And generally speaking, I'm one of the people that helped envision what that was before it existed, for applications that I work on.
You call yourself creator or visionary, the person who can envision something.
Yeah, maker, I guess. Yeah.
What book influenced your product or business vision?
I was just reading a book called the Startup J Curve. It lays out the common stages of growth that startups go through. It speaks to the mindset that helps successful entrepreneurs get through those stages.
What product gave you the best experience ever?
One that just popped up in my life in the last week was I upgraded to a new iPhone. It was really impressive. I thought the onboarding process for the new phone and the transfer process for my old phone was incredibly simple. Apple's doing a really great job. I think they've been an inspiration to all of us in this industry for now decades. They literally created an industry for us by showing the world what great product design means.
Agree. Do you have a favorite quote?
A woman can make a baby in 9 months, but 9 women cannot make a baby in 1 month. And that's always stuck with me. Sometimes you can't just, no matter how badly you want to push things to go faster, there's nothing you can do. It takes time.
If you were to switch your role in the organization with anybody else in the company, which role would it be?
I've always been a product thinker, and I love that process so much. As I've gotten older and worked my way up into managing teams and people, I'm really starting to enjoy the broader picture. At this stage, I'm really interested in bounding, and I'll always be a product designer and a product thinker, but I really like the process of discovery, looking for an opportunity, talking to people in the market and investors, and really laying all the groundwork for product development to happen. And I'm just realizing how fulfilling that is and how satisfying that is, because I can make all the considerations early that will lay the groundwork for great product design to happen later.
If you could have a dinner party with influencer in product design, the person who lived or who is living now, who would be this person?
These days I've been thinking a lot about large language models, and I'd really love to spend some time with the folks who have been working on the computational linguistics side of large language model development. I think it's such a different way of thinking, versus the way I've been thinking about product design for the last 25 years, which is a very visual thing. So, some of the folks who are leaders at the biggest and best of the language models would be really exciting for me to talk to. Of course, there's, the great leaders of our time. Steve Jobs would be an amazing guy to spend time with. But in many respects, I see the birth of a whole new paradigm in design, and I'm really interested in the folks who are leading the charge here with large language models.
What's the most valuable lesson you learned during your career you'd like to share with others?
I think one thing that was really valuable for me is at some point in my career, I stopped being resistant to feedback and input on product design. I think when you're young, you have a tendency to want to create something and have it be loved and then be done. What I learned in going through that process over and over and over again is that the feedback and the input that you receive from others is where the best things lie. It took me a while. It took me a while to figure that out. First couple of years of my career, I was just sort of, I had an emotional resistance to it. And then I learned that the more I dig, the more I look for guidance and ways to tear apart what I've created, the better it gets. And I really try to instill that in young people now.
Good. So Hans, what do you do in your work life? How do you describe the challenges you currently have? And as a design manager, how much is actually work and life balance?
It's gotten easier. I think when we're young, we often don't know what we don't know, and we try to compensate for that with brute force. If we work long enough hours, we'll inevitably win. And I think as you get some experience under your belt, you start to realize that winning is not necessarily just all about brute force. It's about being strategic in your decision making and making good decisions early that pay dividends over the long term. And I think when it comes to building a team, uh, for me, it's all about hiring. And if you hire amazing people who are smart and humble, but yet driven, people that are truly motivated to build great products and help people, uh, your life gets easier and easier. As a product design leader, I've seen that firsthand, where the team is so motivated to drive hard and win, they barely leave me anything to do, and that's a wonderful feeling. That's when I think you're really in a place of flow with your product and your team, and I've gotten pretty good at that. And honestly, I don't feel that it's ever an issue to balance work and life anymore. Outside of work, I'm a dad. I've got two teenage boys. Um, I'm sure they would like more of my time, but I feel like we actually have lots of great quality time in addition to working hard.
So in the role of design manager, do you think it's more manager or person who is focused on design? Because you can focus more on people management or focus more on design management, and there are a lot of different discussions going on.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there are many different people with many different orientations, but for me, the product comes first. And again, I think the more you invest in hiring, the less you will have to invest in management over time. And I've seen that firsthand. The quality of the people that you work with dictates the quality of your life. And the the value I have, I obviously can manage people, but the value that I have is really building products. And that's where I would prefer to spend the vast majority of my time is thinking strategically about where the product's going and how to get there, and offering that vision to the team, and building alignment so that people are working collectively towards that. I think is where most of my energy goes.
Perhaps you can call yourself veteran in design industry. You had a title of head of product design 24 years ago. From your point of view, how design changed, and especially design management in business applications?
Well, it certainly changed a lot. I was fortunate to end up at IBM early on, and IBM had a pretty mature product design practice within its software group, and that's where I learned a lot. I started to realize there was a difference between information architects and visual designers and researchers and front end developers, and I think that was just the beginning of the structure that we have today. A big shift in the industry that I saw was with the advent of the iPhone. I think that really cemented for all other software companies the value of great experience. People saw it firsthand, and they they held it in their hand and they recognized the difference in the experience between the iPhone and whatever they had prior to that. It seemed like from that point forward, the product design practice was generally a formal part of every startup company, that I had seen here in Silicon Valley, and that was nice. I no longer had to go in and explain the purpose and value of product design. People just get it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we are leading to the time when design will be commodity, like just expected that every product should be just having good design, or it's still in the early stages and there's still a lot of work to be done in, especially in B2B applications?
I think it's an evolution. It's a continuum. We are at that stage where I think it's universal. It's ubiquitous that people building software products understand user experience and the value of that. Not all folks understand the process. I do know of companies that just think, hey, if I have a product designer, I must be good, and they don't invest in it as heavily as others, and that's changing too. I think over time, as with engineering or product management, product design will become a very rigorous and formal process. It already is. In terms of being commoditized, that's a really interesting question. I have a lot of thoughts about where the industry is going in relation to generative tech. There are already 1 year into this transition towards large language models. We already have tools that are generating experiences for us, and I have no doubt that that's going to continue, and those products are going to become more and more valuable. It's going to be really interesting to see what that means for product designers. Our industry will change, and it's probably up to us to change with it.
Do you see it as a risk for our profession or opportunity?
Certainly an opportunity. We've gone through many revolutions in over the course of humanity, and they've all been good for us. This is no exception. I think the challenge of it is the pace. Generally speaking, humans need time to adapt. I've never seen anything quite like this in terms of the speed of innovation. When I think about careers in general changing because of AI, that's the part that's a little bit unknown for me. Is like, how will humans adapt quickly enough for the tools that are being created today?
You also have experience with consultancy early. How do you see the difference between working in consultancy and working on a product? And also, I know that you also advise some startups, so you're still partially in consultancy. What's the difference in your job when you're consulting and when you are actually in the product?
Well, sometimes I describe consulting as being twice as hard, and then people say, "Well, why would I do it?" And I say, "Well, it's also 5 times as fun." I really enjoyed it primarily because it gave me visibility into so many different things all at once. Typically I would consult for 3 or 4 companies at a time. That's a bit like training to be an Olympic athlete, because you're really forced to be thinking about different products, different spaces, different personas, different industries. What I saw is oftentimes the things that you're learning in one engagement are useful in others, and you would not have thought of those if you weren't jumping from project to project, inside of a given day. You really gives you an opportunity to cross pollinate in a way that brings a lot of value to all the companies that you work on. Another benefit of it is that it really got me over any fear, anxiety that I had about working on something new. I think when you go work for a company, you spend 5 years there, or however long you spend, then you leave. It's like, oh my gosh, and now I got to start from scratch. And if you spend a few years consulting, you're starting from scratch all the time, over and over again. You're really exercising that muscle, whatever it is, and you completely lose your fear of it. And that's a kind of a superpower, I think, because each day there's something new that you have to tackle, and if nothing scares you, I think you can do a better job.
We recently had an interesting chat. It was in my team. about different types of R&D in design. Everybody knows that you have to do research before you start, and usually when we talk about research in design, it's about user research. So you talk with users, try to understand their pains, where they struggle, what are their opportunities, and then you build the product. But this is type of innovations, it's called demand pool. Like when people need something, we find what they need and we build the product. With AI, it's a different story because it's technology push. We have a technology, now we have to find how to integrate it into our product, what can be built. It's actually proof of concepts about vision, about something when you can't copy the patterns from other products. And I see that many designers may have troubles in this kind of approach because there's no methodology. What is your advice how to work on this kind of innovation?
Many hundreds or thousands of traditional products out there with product teams who are saying, we want to be an AI product. Can you just figure out how to put some AI in our product? If you sit in front of a whiteboard, you'll think of a bunch of different ideas and ways to do that. Most of it sounds really exciting. A company will say, "Yeah, let's do that," and then we can be an AI company. But the truth is that those are solutions searching for a need, and I think it's a bit backwards. I think the best products always start with a need, and good research, good process, as you mentioned, where you have a problem that needs to be solved, and then you think about all of the tools that are available to you in solving it. I still do that. I think you have to think that way. You have to avoid this trap of saying, "Hey, can you just incorporate AI into our product somehow? Put some chat interface in here." Most of that stuff doesn't offer much value beyond, say, marketing value.
Yeah, I definitely see it in lots of products that try to push AI on you, and even like trying to ask for some feedback. We recently had requests for interview with Coda when they also asked some questions why we are using AI or not using and how to find a solution. But actually, it shows that adoption rate for AI features perhaps isn't so high as the products expected when they were launching the systems. Yeah, but still they can find some insights from this kind of when they launched the features, then they can talk with users and see what are the opportunities to enhance it and maybe remove some AI features and add something new. You need to start with some learnings, and without providing proof of concept of these features, it's really hard to learn. Perhaps, yeah. Or we can just wait for other products to be successful and then copy their patterns, but it's always following others.
Yeah. Yep.
I understand, like in your previous job, your product was also connected with AI, and now every product is AI product. So how do you approach this?
In my mind, at least, there are two categories, right? There are the traditional products that have already been built. Those product teams are looking for ways to augment them using large language models, and that could be like a better experience, a better interaction paradigm. But then there are the second category, which are problems in the world that were previously unsolvable, and now suddenly we have tools and capabilities that allow us to solve them for the first time. The latter is an area that I'm particularly interested in. I mean, if you really think about it, the advent of large language models has literally kicked the door open on every field, every industry, every imaginable problem. And suddenly we have this new arsenal of tools that allow us to solve things that we couldn't previously solve. And previously, they just required humans to do them. I'm very interested in being part of that transformation that's happening in the world.
What I hear from different VCs, because I do a lot of research in AI to see what would be the successful product. So there is widespread idea that next stage, so first year of large language models was about embedding chats everywhere, or maybe like some textual generative interfaces. And the next stage where it's coming, where the user experience will change a lot. And good user experience working with AI will be game changing and the reason of success or failure of different products. Because now we will have AI working on backend that will be proactively building workflows for us, automating a lot of stuff and providing value. So it's not just chat or uploading document and getting summary of this document. It's more about the internal logic of the system that works as our copilot agent anybody, doesn't matter how do you call this AI, that is your partner or even coach sometimes that helps you run your business or run your professional responsibilities.
Yeah, that's right.
What I hear from different design leaders that one of the biggest challenges in corporate work is winning the seat on the table with other departments to make sure that design is important part of competitive advantage of the product. Do you have any experience advice? What should design managers do to be heard so their words are valued in the company?
I would say first and foremost, choose wisely when joining a company. Not all companies are equal. And one thing that I learned a lot about in consulting was that there's a huge continuum of cultures that exist. Companies are like people. Their personalities often stem from their founders. You have to pick a company that has the culture that's consistent with your own values. I think a lot of people will just be looking for a job, right? I want to be a product designer. Let me go find a company that needs a product designer. But the process of choosing a company that really believes in product design and values it and invests in it will make a huge difference in your quality of life and the quality of your product and the quality of your career. Having worked on a winning product versus a company that develops a poor product has a profound impact on your options thereafter. The thing that I see young people doing that I think is a huge mistake is just joining a company that has an opening and not spending as much time, looking at the culture of the company and the company's willingness to truly invest in product design. That's paramount. I mean, first of all, if you do that well, everything else is a downhill battle. You don't have to go through that process of begging and teaching and trying to convince people that product design is important. It's already inherent in the culture of the business. But when you are in the situation where that happens and you have to go through that process, it's about believing in what you do and doing it really well and showing people that it has an impact and a value. And the people in the world who understand and respect product design got that because someone at some point showed them. As product designers, part of our role in all of this is to teach. So
how do you evaluate competence of your team? Because there are so many areas where designers can grow. Sometimes we have a case when designers tell us like, okay, now I want to move to the motion design. It's totally different than in most cases you will have challenges in business applications. Yeah, but then you have designers who are super good in design systems and just craftsmen. Yeah. Then you have designers that do research more than others. Then you need designers who can be visionary and maybe do research on competition, on technology, and provide the vision for the product. And ideally, you want this to be one person that can be independent and also have strong communication skills to manage all the stakeholders and win the battle when somebody says, no, it's too hard, let's go home and make it done. How do you balance this kind of skills within one department when there's always limit of number of people you can have?
First and foremost, I think it's about finding those designers who are in it because they're passionate about it. To me, that makes the world of difference. Some people, they just can't stop thinking about a problem that they're trying to solve and how to approach it. They're truly motivated by the idea of building a great product and helping people. If you don't have that, I think you're in trouble. I have, some young people that enter the field and they're struggling and to be honest, they're just there because they heard it was cool. They heard it was a place where you make a lot of money and people will value you, and they said, okay, that sounds good to me, I'll go do that. But they don't have that spark, that maker mentality. So that's first and foremost. I think for those who do have it, you touched on positioning. How do you get the right designer into an area where they can really thrive? I'll give you an example. You mentioned design systems. In hiring design systems product designers, I used to joke that during our Zoom interviews, oftentimes they would be at home because of COVID. I used to joke that we should have these people take us around their house and show us their closets and their kitchen cupboards. The people who are really great design systems designers tend to be highly organized, highly structured thinkers. And the reason I made that joke is because their closets are probably highly organized and they've thought about how to put things into a good hierarchy or groupings of color, and it's really a thing.
I agree. It's the same experience. This specific type of person.
Yeah. So once you know you've got a good designer, it's about saying, where will they thrive? And the way you figure that out is often by asking them, what do you want to work on? And I would so much rather have people working on something that they enjoy. That's where you're going to get their best. I've had situations where, a designer of one kind is needed to work on something else, and it's just hard. It's awkward for them, and I understand why. I try to avoid that.
From my experience, what also shows a great designer that they invest time in education. So the best people we had in our team, they were also coming earlier to the office and spend an hour or two reading and educating themselves, and they were taking so many courses as possible, and they were growing twice or three times faster than others. And there are people who are just having no time for studying because they have so much work to do. And it's interesting, like the same work, the same position, but some people can find time and then they grow, and other people do not have this kind of time and they are growing much slower.
Yeah, that's right. A certain group of designers is often very, they spend a lot of time thinking about efficiencies for the larger team. The smaller group of people are always coming and saying, "Hey, could we try this? Or what if we did this? We could avoid this problem." I love that mindset. I've had so many great improvements happen in process and team structure, not from things that I envisioned or thought of, but that individuals came and one-on-one said, "Hey, I have this idea." Those are my favorite people, to be honest with you. Those are the people that I'm just so thankful that they're on the team, because they're always looking, they're always thinking about what can we do to make people happier and to make this product better.
Okay, maybe you would want to discuss some other points.
I think coming back to AI for a moment, I think that's clearly in the forefront for me. I'm kind of curious, from your perspective, how your business has changed, with the advent of AI and large language models over the last year. Are you working on a completely new set of products, or are you mostly just trying to incorporate AI into existing products?
Nice question. So we work with many clients for years. So in their case, it would be implementing AI features into the product, because usually people already validated product market fit. So there is a problem, there is a solution, and then they want to improve the product and make it a competitive advantage. And I guess it's the safest way for business software to move forward, and just people who will be best in implementing that will be leading the industry. This is a competitive advantage. Required a few products we worked on, they're new, but what I've seen from people who are coming to us, 90% of that is mostly wrapper on top of large language models. So I don't see how it would be different that if I had a prompt and I would just prompt the chatbot and then it would be providing similar results. Maybe there are some visualizations. So it's very easy to copy this solution, even if there's a lot of UI. But I guess in a few years, you would be able to just ask AI to write you a copy of the system and it will do it. The biggest question for everybody with whom you work is how to protect the invention, how to make it good enough that it will be not copied. And my idea is you need somehow to build brand and also to have network effect. So the value of your software is not based only on the software itself, because let's imagine in 10 years you would go to your computer and say, "Hey, Copilot, write me a copy of HubSpot." Just go read their documentation. I need custom implementation of the software, but change this, and this. And then what will happen with HubSpot? Like, who will be paying them for SaaS, for their services if any Copilot, even open source, will be able to write the same software, because all requirements are there. It can test, it can click, it can see how it works and just write the same software. But if you have a huge user base, if you have a brand, in this case, people will still value support, will value consultancy and ability to tap into the data that is in the system. And that will be the value. So I think like in long term, it's the smartest way to have in your roadmap something like that. But now you just need to move fast. If you're one of the first who built a product to solve the problem, you can win. Then maybe you can buy other companies.
Yeah, and I think there's real value in thinking early in the early stage of your product development cycle about how to make that product sticky. how do you make it something that is not easily replaced in the future? It's not actually that difficult. So in addition to having a strong brand, being early to the game, I think you can help build a moat around yourself by uh, weaving your product into the day-to-day life and operations of your audience, such that it's hard to unweave in the future.
Mm-hmm. And also about your data. I guess Sam Altman recommended that, like that there will be so many different copilots, but the problem is which copilot get your trust. So which software get your trust so you are willing to share parts of your business or your personal life with the software. Once people already trusted you this information, and changing that to different system will be harder for them, or they just will not will to share this information with many other companies. So that's why brand and trust are super important in the AI era.
Touching briefly on your earlier comment about helping legacy companies incorporate AI in. One thing that's particularly interesting to me is, if you've been a product company for the last 10 years, you've in many ways invested heavily in building a platform that is largely becoming out of date. And I think it's very critical for so many companies today to be thinking about, okay, this industry is actually changing. Are we in trouble if we don't scrap large swaths of what we have and replace it with modern tech? Of course, that's a very hard thing to do. You've invested tens of millions, if not billions of dollars building something. It's hard to throw it away and say we have to start over. But there's a real risk, as you said, that modern upstarts are going to come and quickly build something new using modern tech that renders all of your, your legacy platform irrelevant. And I think there's probably going to be a great extinction over the next 5 to 10 years of large enterprise software companies that are just locked into the platform that they built over the last decade.
I see that lots of companies are seeing this risk now and they're trying to find solution, but there are also other news like people are not using AI so much, or so they are trying to find protection for themselves in news. Like, okay, so it's a hype, like nothing will change so much. People say that in AI is important, but actually nobody is using that. That it's hard to believe in that because it's hallucinations and other stuff. So, but it will change in a year or two. So we had very uh, great delight when we've seen GPT-4, but I guess with like GPT-6 or whatever, how they will call it, it will be a totally different. And I think people are missing that there are multiple trends emerging immediately, not only AI, but also low code. So I personally hate most of the CRM systems, and like there are a lot of videos that people use CRM system only because they are forced to use. Nobody would do it by themselves, or maybe after it becomes a habit. But actually, it's not like the software you love to use and you are super happy to start your workday with CRM. And what's interesting, so I spent like a few days and implemented most of features I missed in CRM in low code, no code platform myself. So now it works 90% as I wished it to work, and no system did it before. And I understand that today's HubSpot or similar CRM systems are much more feature rich, and it would be hard for me to implement everything there. But my message is that people are maybe missing this kind of low code approach when there are a lot of automation, a lot of business stuff that can be built with systems like Coda, for example. And also what's good is that AI helps to use this kind of systems a lot. I think it's a question of year or two when we will have Copilot will be writing pages and some formulas in this kind of no-code systems for us.
Yeah, yeah. I think as a product designer, one of the funnest, most fun facets of all of this is having the freedom to depart from traditional ideas like CRM. It has been largely the same product for the last decade. And if you look at the various competing companies, if you squint your eyes, you'll see that they're roughly the same. But there's suddenly an opportunity to say, what does CRM look like in 10 years from now? And ignore everything that you've ever learned or thought about CRM and invent something completely new. And to me, that's really exciting. That's like creating tomorrow version of this world. And it's going to be very different from where we're at today.
Thanks. It was wonderful chat. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much.